Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Tanks, and welcome back today to another tank review. Today I'm going to be doing the Type 64. We're going to be going through the stats of the vehicle, comparing it to others, blah blah blah, you know the drill. And then there will be some Ace Tanker gameplay at the end. So if you only want to see the gameplay, please do skip ahead to the time posted in the description. And there you go, you have some Ace Tanker gameplay. If not, if you want to stick with me, stick around and we'll go through what this tank is all about. So first things first, what is this tank? More than 50 of these vehicles are produced in Taiwan. Taiwan number one. ROC, all basic components of the vehicle were based on those of American vehicles. The Hellcat turret was mounted to the chassis of an M42 anti-aircraft vehicle, and the armament was the well-proven M1A2 gun. Only one Type 64 prototype survives today. There you go, it actually existed. And for any of you who didn't notice before, you can clearly see it's the stock in-game stock. I'm using my fingers to make thingies. Hellcat turret. The M1A2 76mm gun, a very popular gun on Sherman's, and I think it was used on the Hellcat as well. And then an anti-aircraft hull, which is pretty cool. In game, it is a tier 6 Chinese premium tank, a really old premium tank, and I'm going to get into why that is so important. I literally just yawned. I tried to get all my yawns out of the way at the start of the video in just a moment. But anyway, let's go jump over into Tanks GG, and we will have a look at the stats of the vehicle and compare it to some others. Right, so Type 64 on the left, a T50-2 in the middle, and T37 on the right. Max, there's some weird tanks that you've picked to compare. Why have you chosen those? Well, I've gone with the T50-2 because it's kind of a premium tank. I don't think there's many tier 6 premium light tanks. So it's kind of a premium tank, and I think a lot of people have now got this tank, because obviously I think you only have to have had your account for 3 or 4 years, so probably quite a lot of people have got this thing, they know what that's like. And also you've got the T37 on the right, because I believe it's one of the most popular, and I may be stuck in my old ways here, but one of the best tier 6 light tanks. It always used to be one of the best, but I haven't played a tier 6 light tank, probably other than the Type 64, in God knows how long. So, right off the bat, seriously, can't stop yawning. Type 64, much better DPM, 2,100 near enough, and much better standard penetration as well. Well, over the T50-2 at 188. Shells, refresh quickly. There we go. If anyone's ever wondering why you can't find shells on Tanks GG, if you just refresh the page, it brings them up. 177 premium. On the T50-2, 165, so less, but that is only 57mm gun, and 160 on the T37, so it has got the best premium rounds. 76mm gun over the 57 on the 50-2. Yeah, the shell velocity is something I don't mention often, but is actually moving more towards the meh side of shell velocity. 792 is not overly good, and you do have to give a bit of lead. You can't just point and click like you can some other tanks. Ammo capacity is something else that is actually really quite low. With only doing 115 damage per shot, and you only have 45 shells, you can only actually do 5,175 damage, which is really not a lot. But so far, so good for the Type 64. Aim time and accuracy, 2.01, 2 seconds aim time. 0.38 dispersion or accuracy, which is on the worst side, but not awful. 0.38, especially with crew skills and stuff, you can get that down. Definitely not as bad. Oh, for God's sakes. As the 0.43 on the T37. Dispersion, gun dispersions are all the exact same, so not too shabby. It's got 10 degrees of gun depression, 20 degrees of gun elevation as well, which is always very nice to have that, and obviously a fully traversable turret. Now onto the mobility. 72.4 kilometers an hour forwards, one of the fastest tanks in the game as of now. However, because it is an old-time light tank, it does get a lot worse horsepower per ton of only 21.7, which you may think, well, nearly 22 is not that bad. Most light tanks used to have horsepowers in and around here, and I think the highest horsepower in the game was like 25. And then when the tier 10 light tanks came in, they just went, okay, we're now going to push that up to, so the best horsepower in the game is like 50 horsepower per ton, as you can see with the T50-2, it being a lot newer. It does get made up for by a little bit by the dispersions, which again are much, 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 much better, which is quite nice. Terrain dispersions, you tit. Terrain resistances. Turret traverse is actually surprisingly slow for a light tank, but the whole traverse is really, really quick as well. And the effective traverses you can see there. Yeah, this is kind of, again, it's more the old-timey tank kind of feel to it. Its horsepower per ton is a little bit lacking, but once you get there, you're going real quick. I also forgot to mention the tank weighs 23 tons, so although it's not, I wouldn't recommend ramming things in it. It's not like, you know, T50-2 16 tons light or other tanks that are like 15 tons and stuff like that. So you're not, I wouldn't get rammed in it, but if it's light tank, you're not going to do terribly. Armor, I'm not even going to look into. It's a tier 6 light tank. It's got no armor. Your front may bounce some 75mm rounds. That is it. 650 hit points since they hit point buffs, which is not too shabby. I've completely lost track, really, of anything below tier 6, what hit points are now. I'm just like, yeah, that's not too shabby. That's all right. Could literally be the lowest hit points at the tier, but to me, it's more than it ever used to have, so it feels all right. And then something that is also really, really nice is 340 meters view range, which is very, very nice indeed. And something that I always mention on premium tanks is the fact that the shell cost is 94 credits per shell, which is nice because this thing is a premium tank, which obviously means that it makes a buttload of credits, which is always nice. Now, as I said just in the garage a minute ago, the reason I keep referring to this as an old-timey tank is because this tank hasn't changed, I don't think. If it has, it hasn't much since it used to face tier 10s, which is why everyone plays this thing and is like, oh my god, it's so good. It's so good now. It always, I can't remember if it was when it used to be able to face tier 10s or tier 9s, because obviously they've slowly brought it down over time, and now it's only tier 8s, which is all very nice. But it's obviously, because it's a premium tank, it hasn't changed. When it did used to be able to face tier 10s, it was pretty trash, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it wasn't a particularly good tank. 128mm penetration versus tier 10s. The old Chaffee at tier 5 and things like that were a lot better at facing stuff like that than this, but now that it can only face tier 8s, it's very, very good indeed, because you've obviously got to think that's its like middle matchmaking. It's almost like it's got preferential matchmaking over what it used to have. It's balanced. They used to balance light tanks as if they were a medium tank one tier higher, or that's the matchmaker that they got. So they were kind of balanced-ish accordingly. So this is kind of balanced to be in a similar ballpark as a tier 7 medium, and when you're now playing, because obviously now you can be top tier, so when you're against tier 5s and even tier 4s, you're like, okay, this is just broken, because obviously you've got 390 meters view range, you've got 2100 DPM on a gun that, when you're shooting that at tier 5s and tier 4s, that's quite a high alpha damage. Yes, tier 6 it's starting to lack off a bit, but when you're against lower tiers, yeah, you're going to be taken them out pretty quickly. So, yeah. Right, we'll jump back into the garage. I'll just go over whether I think this tank is worth it or not, and then we will head into the Ace Tanker gameplay. So, do I think this tank is worth it or not? Yes, I really do. It's, again, only ever buy premium tanks if you want to. I'm not saying you must buy this tank or you shall be destroyed. No. It's a good tank. If you fancy picking up a fun mid-tier premium tank that makes decent credits, although you do have to fire a couple of premium rounds in it, obviously, because the penetration is quite low, especially when you go up against tier 8s. But a good, decent mid-tier premium tank that's a bit of fun. Like I said, I don't think there's many tier 6 premium light tanks around. If you have the T50-2, it does probably lose its touch a little bit, because the T50-2 is also quite fun, but it's a different kind of fun. It feels, I don't really know, but both tanks definitely feel different. Equipment wise on this tank, you got a rammer, obvious, vents, not vents, sorry, coated optics, because with a good crew you can get this view range way up high without even using binos, so you don't need to use binos. And I've gone for a camo net for more passive spotting. This tank can fit vertical stabilizers, which is something that I may be tempted to switch out for. Either that, or it can't fit vents, sorry, because it is an open top tank, you tit, Max. But yeah, so you probably want to go either camo net or vert stabs. You definitely don't need a gun laying drive, because mine is 1.8 seconds aim time. I mean, if you really wanted to, you could go for a spool liner, just because of the amount of RT and HE that's fired around at low tiers, but it's entirely up to you guys. I would recommend either go camo net, vert stabs, optics, and binos, depending on your crew skills and everything like that. Obviously, guaranteed gun rammer. That's not even a question. But yeah, mine's sitting about 2,600 DPM, which is quite nice. But yeah, I would definitely recommend this tank if you want just to have a bit of fun at mid tiers. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. Let's go take a look at the Ace Tanker gameplay. For anyone who's interested at all, this was not the video I had planned to be released around about now. A couple of days ago, when it was patch 1.9, whatever this, not patch 1.9, sorry, whatever the Road to Berlin micro patch was, I had 5 replays ready. 5. To make 5 different videos. 2 tank reviews, 3 other videos. And the Road to Berlin patch broke my replays. I was livid. But yeah, I always say bits like this after the tank review before the gameplay, so that if you're interested, you are. If not, you just skip straight to the gameplay. No harm done. But yeah, let's head over into the Ace Tanker gameplay. So here we go, guys, into the gameplay. My volume is really low. As you can see, Type 64. We're in a tier 8 game. We're bottom tier, but I don't care, because like I said to you in the little stats thing, this thing used to see tier 10. So to me, this is like, yeah, this is still a fairly nice game. Obviously, something you don't get the privilege of having in any other light tanks anymore, because they've obviously all been rebalanced from what they used to see when they used to see tier 9s and tier 10s and things like that. We're on Redshire, however you want to say it. And we, like I say, we're in a tier 8 game. I've moved into the middle bush. We are platooned up with Tom and Daisy. Tom being my cousin, Daisy being my girlfriend. And yeah, we're going to see what we can do. Start of the game, I've just moved into this fairly obvious spotting bush, but it's obvious because it works, because you just keep some things spotted. Unfortunately for me, my team's not really shooting. They have kind of nerfed this position now, because where that T29 was, that used to be able to be shot at a lot easier by our tank destroyers, where our AT-15 Borsig and things like that are. But unfortunately they can't anymore, because you used to be able to get amazing spotting numbers up on this map if you could get into this bush and spot all of the tanks before they got to the heavy point. I remember spotting like full health E100s and getting them killed. It was great. Spot a UDES, always nice to make sure that he spotted at the start of the game. As you can see, I really don't need binos. My view range is way up there. SU100Y, because I'm not really getting much spotting damage, I decide to fire. I don't get spotted. I move back a little bit behind the bush, just so I'm not being spotted if that EBR Hotchkiss decides to make runs. I set him on fire, looking for the the shots. You can see just the DPM on this thing is very, very nice. I think it's like a 2-second reload. Fall back behind the bush. Put one into him. Can we get a second in? No, we bounce. Go for the hole, Max. No, that missed, Max. No, it did. Ah, that hit. Nice. And we tracked him as well, so we got a bit of tracking damage. T-37. Just got to be careful, because obviously when shooting at light tanks, they've got a lot better view range than, you know, your KV-85s and such. I think Tom's saying to me at this point the T-28 Prot is in about K3 kind of area, so I'm just thinking, I've got to be careful. Hit the EBR. Track the EBR. Didn't kill the EBR. Typical. It's an EBR. T-29. Oh, that's just a feast. T-29. Oh, come on, shells. Unfortunately, we only got one in there. We could have done so much better. But this tank, you saw the speed right at the start. Right, I know as soon as I fire against this guy, I'm going to get spotted, but I kind of want to put shots in. The good thing with the DPM is that you can usually put 2 or maybe even 3 shots in before some people can even aim at you. Because if you're pre-aimed, you can just fire, then fall back. Or sometimes if it's like a Russian heavy tank or something like that, you can fire 3 in there. You saw as well there, something that really does quite annoy me about this tank, because obviously it's got 115 alpha. I rolled for 88 on one of those shots against that that SU, and 88 just feels like, oh, that is so not worth pulling the trigger. It's obviously, I know all shells are percentage based, 25% above, 25% below, but it just feels like when you roll in for that much, you're just like, that's where I wish I had like 150 alpha, because then at least you don't see less than 100. 115 is just, ugh. But obviously the DPM, the rate of fire, does make up for that. You don't need to worry too much. I am probably going to try and 3-mark. Oh, Christ, Max, what are you doing? I'm probably going to try and 3-mark this tank at some point. I don't think it'll be too tricky. Because I literally, shout out to Chickapoo, by the way, who asked me, can you make a video on the Type 64? I went, yeah, go on then, mate. And I went, alright, video on the Type 64, what do I need to do? Play the Type 64. So play the Type 64. This was the first game I played in it. Got an ace tanker. I was like, excellent. You see there, though, what I mean, rolled for 97 and then 99. It's not good. I'm firing a lot of blind shots here, but I know there's obviously not a huge amount of tanks left. We are now down to our premium rounds. I haven't fired a single premium round so far this game until now, but that's only because I need to, because I've run out of standard rounds. We are getting a lot of low rolls this game. 108, 124, there we go. Oh, we get clipped by that Sturmwaffenträger. You actually need to aim, Max. You can't really auto-aim that. Well done. Getting spotting damage on a Churchill. Oh god, there's a UDES. 10 degrees of gun depression though. Very nice. Very, very nice. I don't want to get slapped by the UDES, so I put 2 in. I start falling back, and then the world and its mum decides that they want to shoot at the UDES. Right, now I'm pretty sure... Oh my god, there they are. They were both looking exactly at me. Fortunately, we dodged the SU-130 PM round, and we did take a STA-1 heat round, but it didn't really matter. Start putting shots in. These are premium rounds, so it's nice, but we wouldn't actually need premium rounds. Right, we need to kill the SU, because he's probably going to be an issue. Kill him. And then my team is capping at this point, so I'm just trying to do all the damage I can without dying. Cupola, this is the issue with the STA-1. It's got a big old cupola, and he falls back. And unfortunately, we can't do any more, because our team did. Need to go back, actually. There we go. Oh. Still says victory. Oh well. Yeah. That is the Type 64. It does Type 64 things. You can you can still be quite comfortable in these tier 8 games in tier 9, not tier 9 games. See, I'm still in your tier 8 and your tier 9 games, in your tier 8 games, in your tier 7 games, because this thing comes from that time where you would see tier 10s. And yeah, the pros of the tank, as you saw when I came down this hill, it is incredibly fast. It just needs not quite as good as the modern light tanks where I say the modern, not modern as in, you know, they're from 2005, but modern as in they're newer to the game, that have the horsepower per ton, so they can pretty much go their top speed everywhere. You do take a little bit longer to get to your top speed, but once you're there, you're quicker than most of the, I think all tier 6 light tanks, if not most anything up to like tier 8. And even then, I think it's only the wheelie boys and like the T100 and things that are actually faster. So it is quite nice. Yeah, Type 64. I've given my opinion on the tank. I've shown you what it can do. We'll go look at the post-game stats. And yeah. Right, Ace Tanker. Unsurprisingly, as I always say, and Ace Tanker gameplay. Ha 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 ha. We also got an All-X medal for destroying... What the hell was that, Mags? Destroying 2 or more enemy tanks in a light tank. The enemy tanks being 1 tier higher. We also got high caliber, which is nice when you're in a bottom tier light tank. We did 2,957 damage. Even out-damaged a Borsig and everyone else on our team. Yeah, not too shabby. 3 kills and 1,488 base XP. It's honestly so easy to get XP in this thing. It also does pretty well in terms of credits, even though we did have to fire those premium rounds at the end, and if we'd have been a bit more careful at the start, we could have got away with that. But we still make 87,000 credits. I think I was making bonus credits for something. I can't remember what, but we made a decent amount of credits. Fired 40 shots, hit 32, penned 26. They're kind of the ratios you're going to be getting in this tank. Just because it's not the most accurate, it hasn't got the best penetration. So yeah, we got 1,300 assisted, nice to complement our damage there. You obviously can play this tank as a pure scout. You can play it as a pure passive scout or active scout. You can play it as any of those because the speed is good and the view range is good as well. And the camo rating is something I also didn't mention, but is really good. So that's all good, funnily enough. And yeah, there we go. So again, standard YouTuber crap coming up, so if you don't want to listen, then bye-bye. But please give the video a like, guys, if you have enjoyed. Please subscribe if you're new to the channel, and you clearly don't hate me because you've got this far into the video. So please consider subscribing. And yeah, other than that, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.